Mission Hope, inspirational stories of faith and triumph. Life's many upheavals, sharp curves, twists and turns, the challenging circumstances coming right at you, are non-stop. The inner wars within are outside your control and feel overwhelming. You feel alone, and the seemingly endless battles rage on. You feel like you have lost all hope and faith, questioning, why me? Why now? How can I handle another blow? The answers you're seeking are in this collection of 20 uplifting stories in this book. Within its golden pages, from the deep confines of their hearts and souls, these extraordinary authors have opened up and are here to assist you in navigating the deep, daunting, and dark waters that you are facing. Each story is unique in its experience, but similar in the fact that through everything presented to them in life, these authors have found the way back to success, peace, and joy through hope and faith. These authors have turned tragedy into tranquility once again. Now, they are here to empower you, to shift from what once was fear and failure into the future of your dreams. They offer as a gift to you the freedom to choose your destiny. Now, it's time to turn the key and walk through the door. Hear from the authors themselves, as they share their journey and story with you, here, on Living the Next Chapter.
Hey everyone, welcome back to Living the Next Chapter. We're talking about Shar Murphy's next book, and we're so excited to have another author on from Shar's new book. And Marianne's here with me today. She's on her lunch break, and she's making time to be on the podcast. Her first time ever as a podcast guest. Marianne, welcome to Living the Next Chapter. Glad to have you here.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate it. It's a pleasure to be here. I'm excited to be here.
It's exciting to have you. And you're joining me from your car, which I love. This is great. We're catching you on lunch. So we owe you a lunch after this. So thank you for making time to do this.
Sure.
Great. So you're part of Shar's new book. Tell me a little bit about your connection with Shar, how you met Shar, and let's draw the lines there of how you actually met her.
Actually met her through another author, Todd George Stone. I met her probably about 3 or 4 years ago at Todd's house. He introduced me to her, and it's like she and I had known each other for years and years and years. Like there was never a point when we didn't know one another. We just connected and we just clicked. And it's like we had been best friends forever. And we just started sharing stories, and we had so many similarities. And I helped her. She helped me. It's kind of like she was an instant sister. Like she's a sister from my past life or something. I don't know. It's like we'd known each other forever and just could just feel how each other was feeling and just understood one another instantaneously. It was amazing.
And then you somehow got roped into the book, and now you're an author in this book. This has got to be exciting for you to be part of a great community of authors led by Shar. Talk a little bit about your relationship with some of the authors in the book and the community that's built around the book. What's exciting about that for you?
Well, the camaraderie that we all have. It's like family. Yeah. It's like we've all known each other forever. Actually got to know J.K. Ellis because when we all got into the group chat, we all started talking, and he lived in the same area I did, actually. I just recently moved to Oklahoma less than 2 months ago. And I happened to be out in public one day, and I heard Falletta. And I said, who knows me here? And it was J.K. Ellis. It was like, are you kidding me right now? What are you doing here? And he and it was the same thing. We just immediately connected. It was like, oh, wow. Like, it's like I've known you for a long time. And he felt the same way. We just immediately connected and started talking like we didn't skip a beat. Like we've just known each other. But it's more like a family. Like just we're all together and involved, and we all get each other motivational quotes and that sort of thing, and comment on each other's day and send pictures to one another of what we're doing and support one another and motivate one another. It's great. It's really, really good to have a network of people like that when you're all so far away from one another, but feel like you're right there with each other, sharing those moments and experiences.
I love it. So would you call yourself an author? Like, have you written before and you have many books and stuff? Or is this kind of your first time?
This is my first time.
Okay.
And it's so odd because for years, for over 2 decades, people have been telling me, you have a story to tell. Tell it. I'm like, I don't know how to do that. I don't even know where in the world I'd start or who I would go to or anything like that. So when Char and I were talking, because I had ordered the first book, I'd ordered a couple of copies, one for myself and one for my best friend for her birthday. And we were talking about it, and I'd purchased those, and she and I were on a phone call, and she was asking for writers, and I told her, I said, let me see who I can find. And she's like, you have an amazing story yourself. And I was like, yeah, I'm not a writer. I tell you a story all day long, but I'm not a writer. And she said, no, I'll help you. I can help you through this. And I said, well, let me think about it. And she says, okay, great. I'm so excited for you. You're going to be a published author. This is wonderful. I love you. Bye. Click. I was like, no.
Yes.
She just did that. Okay. And you don't tell Char no.
No.
Because you
No.
know that it comes from a loving place.
Right.
And you know that she has good intent behind it. So you can't say no to that. And it was like, oh, I was literally cleaning the apartment I was moving out of when this whole conversation occurred. I was cleaning the apartment and was getting it ready. I'd just moved into a house 3 months prior to me moving to Oklahoma. And I was like, I think I was with my best friend, Lena. And I said, I think I just became an author. She goes, what? How does that happen?
I just love it. See?
I said, well, you know what? Everything happens for a reason. I am a firm believer of that. And I think that I don't need to discredit it or put it on the back burner. This is something I need to take seriously. And my whole goal was to make sure that I can help people.
Nice.
That are going through similar situations.
Can you talk a little bit about your chapter in Char's book? We chatted before we hit record. It sounds like you have some very interesting stories to tell. But for the readers coming to the book for the first time, they're buying a book for themselves and one for their friends as well, like you did. What are you hoping for them to discover when they come to your chapter in Char's new book?
I hope for them to discover strength and learning how to find themselves, who they are, ways that, because I talk about how I learned to discover who I am, which was imperative. It was very eye-opening. And also at the same time, it was seeing the ugly truth, going, wow, I thought I was a good person. And I was, don't get me wrong, but I could have been a better version of myself. And the one thing that I do more than anything is I used to self-sabotage myself. Speaking things out into the universe, whatever you put in the universe is going to come back to you. But a lot of what I went through, I never put out into the universe. It just happened. And I want to say that that's because it leads me to where I am today, to help others. Do I wish it hadn't happened? Of course. Would I take it back right now to get a message out and to help others? No, I wouldn't. But it's helped me to become the person I am today, which is, I'm not the best person in the world, but I'm not the worst either, But the important thing I would say would be learning to trust yourself and love yourself. That's the important thing. When you learn to love yourself, that's when others can love you as well. When you learn to respect yourself and set boundaries, that's when others will respect you. It took me a long time to learn that. A long time. And as a result of it, I kept allowing the same cycle to happen over and over and over and over until I was like, you know what? I keep doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result. And that is the very definition of insanity. I thought, okay, so I need to change things up. And that is when I had a neighbor that I met, and I had just gotten into meditation, and he was helping me through that because of the fact that he does meditate a lot, him and his wife, and they had been doing it for years, and I was just getting into it. Didn't research anything. It's like, okay, meditate. I'm going to lay down on a couch and I'm just going to think, and it's going to be me and God, and that's it. And pretty much that's it.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no wrong way to meditate, but it helps me to get on a level with myself to understand who I am and help me along my journey. And it's very eye-opening. I enjoy it.
Yeah.
That's where I get my peace at.
So as people read through your chapter and they're going along on the story, was it hard for you to decide what to include in this chapter and what to not include? Like you're not writing an entire book, you're writing a chapter. So you have to be kind of concise with your message. Was that difficult to write just a single chapter?
It was difficult trying to decide what to include and what not to include. And that's because the people that I reference in the book, I don't want their identity to be in the forefront. So I think the important thing was trying to get the message across of people go through things every single day. We all do. We're human, right? Some of us go through things that we should never have to encounter, and that there are ways to work through it. But the important thing is healing. You've got to heal yourself, or you're going to continue to relive that cycle. And as far as I'm going to tell you, I can't tell you, I probably edited my chapter myself before I even turned it into chart. Oh, probably 6 or 7 times, changing things up. And then I sent it over to Char, and her and Dominic said, okay, there's a few things you need to change. And so I did. But when they did that, said, just tweak this, take this out, and you leave it like that, I went on a whole different venture. I was like, you know what? I'm just going to scratch all that all together. And I'm going to put this in because I feel it's important. I'm a domestic violence counselor and an advocate, and I have been for 23 years. And that's something that is very near and dear to my heart. I don't get paid for it because that's not why I'm in it.
Hmm.
I'm a survivor, and I know how difficult it is to live it. I do. And I know how scary it is. And I know how alone it can be, how you can feel alone when you're surrounded by people. It's a dark place. It can be.
Yeah.
But just know that there is help out there. No matter where you are. It's just a matter of finding the help and knowing how to find it. So it was hard I knew I wanted to put the domestic violence information in there. That I didn't know. The other part that was hard is I'm one of these people that I always try to make sure I'm not vulnerable.
Yep.
Based on my past, right? Nobody wants to be vulnerable ever. I get that. But based on my past, I wanted to make sure that I wasn't exposing myself too much. And then as I actually was writing the book, I started healing even more. And it was like, you know what? I'm just going to be vulnerable, because how am I going to help people if I'm not? It's not, about me. It's about helping others. So it was, it was hard for me to do that, but I came to terms with it and came to grips and said, you know what? I need to help other people. I need to help them grow. I need to help them get help. But this is a way for me to grow too. I don't want to stay stagnant.
Yeah.
So yes, it was rough,
Hmm.
but I did it.
Yeah. So as people are listening to our discussion and they are in that situation, they're surrounded by it, but they feel very alone. Had you been listening to this podcast X number of years ago, what kind of information would you have liked to hear? What words would have brought comfort or direction for you to make a change or to find help? Can you speak to that person that's listening right now? Just you and them. What would you say to them?
There's help. You're not alone. Love yourself. And I know that they try to make you feel like it's your fault. It's not. It's not. Know that they're never going to change. Not without the proper help. And even with the proper help, statistics say that only 14 to 17% ever change. And that's not really good odds. And out of that 14 to 17% that do change, only 3% stay consistent.
Mm.
So this is something that there's a lot of manipulation that's involved. And they tell you everything that you want to hear, and they do good for a month or two. But know that it's going to go right back to how it was once they reel you back in. It's not going to change. The only thing that's going to change it is you breaking this cycle. I'll never forget. This was back in 1999. I had a friend that was in a domestic violence support group with me. She had a permanent restraining order against her ex-husband. And one day, she and her mother were walking down the sidewalk going into a restaurant. And her ex-husband, who was always constantly trying to run her off the road, showing up at her house, showed up at the restaurant, had picked up the children from school, and shot and killed her mother in front of the restaurant and shot her in the shoulder. And I thought, wow, this was in broad daylight. This is something that you never expect, but it can happen. And sometimes you have to just remove yourself from their life a little at a time and get that help that you need. But know that there are shelters that are in place to help you. There is funding for those that have been abused to help them to make it on their own. There are so many organizations out there to help you. In the Arkansas, the National Coalition Against Domestic Violence, and whatever state you're in, that coalition against domestic violence, they're there to help. Take advantage of that help. But know in the back of your mind that it's not your fault. There's nothing that you did wrong, and you can never, ever make someone act a certain way by the way you act. They make that choice. It is their choice. to beat you, to slander you, to verbally abuse you. That's their choice. How they choose to act is on them, not you. So never take that. And getting away from them, learning to be independent, learning to be who you are and finding out who you are is very important, because that's what's going to get you through and help you to stand in your power. It's important. And if you're keeping it to yourself, please, please tell someone.
Mm.
Please. I don't care if it's a neighbor. I don't care if it's your friends, your family, whoever. Please tell someone. They need to know. If anything were to ever happen to you, which God forbid, I hope it never does, they need to know who to go after. And they may be able to help you. I'm always available if anybody wants to talk. I'm there for it. But it's imperative to know that you're not the reason.
Yeah. That's one thing I saw, Marianne, yesterday. I saw you posting that you're going to be coming on a podcast today, and you're just asking for support from your community. And one thing I loved by just being an outsider watching that, knowing that you and I were going to talk today, was your community showed up. And the love and the comments on your post from your community, your friends and family, those who love you the most, they were there. They were like instant. And I could tell you were just being wrapped in love by those around you. And that's amazing. So what I'd love to do is for you to talk to those people who responded to your post, those people in your community that know you well. And what would you say to them for their support for you? About telling your story, about putting yourself out there, being on a podcast, writing a book. There's all these people in your life that are cheering you on. What do you want to say to them?
Wow. Thank you. They've always had my back. They have. They've always been there for me. And I am so eternally grateful. I am very, very blessed. I am. Thank you so much for all of your support and your love. Thank you for being there when I need y'all, not only through the bad times, but for the good times as well, to celebrate those with me, because that means a lot to me. Friendships and family are very important to me. Friends are hard to come by. Good friends, right? And no matter what, everybody needs a support system. And I am so eternally grateful. I am. The only other thing I would say to him is go buy the book.
Exactly.
Reach out. I got you.
We got to do that. I love it.
Yes, definitely.
Okay. And now, again, I want to honor your time. Thank you for making time for this. The one thing I was asking all my authors that come on to talk about the book is if they have a message just for Shar, just from you to Shar. If I'm not here, I'm not in the car with you. It's just you and Shar out running around, and you just stop the car and you look at Shar and you want to tell her something. You and her. What would you want to say to Shar?
I would tell her, girl, this has been a crazy ride. But I have enjoyed every single moment of it. I have enjoyed the journey that it's taken me on as an individual, not to mention to share those moments with Shar and for her making my life real. Like I would discuss with her what I wanted to put into the story. She's like, yeah, do it that way, But she also told me, no. Listen, here's what I'm looking for. She wouldn't tell me how to write it unless I really needed it. She goes, I know you're a writer. You tell a good story. So I'm going to let you do that. Right. But when I needed her to help me write, she was there, you know. And basically I wrote on my own, and then she just tweaked. And but I would tell her, you're an amazing woman. You were helping millions of people all over the world, and you're fighting the good fight. And that is like that's huge. A lot of people would be scared to take on this kind of responsibility, but not Char. She does it fiercely.
Yeah.
Like, she's just out there like, yep, here I am, deal with it. And I love that. She's a strong woman.
Mm-hmm.
She is. And I am eternally grateful to have her as a friend. And she has been such a mentor to me throughout the years, but I feel like I've known her a lifetime. And I'm just grateful that she doesn't judge, and that she looks past any kind of flaws, I guess you could say, a person has. She just looks past it, and she sees deep in the soul. And I just thank her for that. I'm just grateful that she is the person that she is, and she's an amazing woman. And she has helped me to see who I am, but also what I can be. So I'm eternally grateful for her friendship and her love, her compassion and her passion to drive this series and to want to help others. I'm very grateful for that.
Amazing. Marianne, I'm looking forward to reading your chapter. I'm looking forward to reading all of the authors in the book. And
Yes.
from my perspective, too, I just want to say thank you to Shar, too, for allowing me to interact with some great people. And for me to have time with you today is a joy for me, because now I get to meet you. And
yes,
to hear a little bit about your story is great. And I can just tell you that people listening to this episode, if it's not them in a situation, they might know of someone who's in a situation where they need help. And seeing how your community loves you, I think that's a good lesson for all of us, that we need to reach out to those around us and make sure everyone's okay and give them the love and support they need, because we don't really know what happens behind closed doors. So we need to give each other a little bit of space and a little bit of love.
Yeah, definitely. Absolutely. I agree. It's been a privilege working with you and getting to meet you finally today. I'm so grateful. Thank you so much for having me on the show.
Excellent.
And doing my first podcast.
See, I love it. Marianne, where do people connect with you on Facebook? How do we find you? If we want to talk to you, we want to reach out, we need your help, where do we go?
Yes. Marianne Falletta. You can look me up. That is F as in Frank, A-L-L-E, T as in Tango, T as in Tango, A.
Excellent. We'll make sure we put that in the show notes too, so people can find it. Marianne, thank you so much for being here. Thank you for taking time out of your lunch to do this in your car. I love it. I love it. You're a superstar.
Absolutely.
You're a superstar.
Thank y'all for having me. I greatly appreciate it. And everybody have an amazing day.
Awesome. Everyone go check out the show notes. Everything is there from Marianne. And I would love if everyone could go buy the book, buy many copies, and also leave a good review of the book wherever you purchase the book, and let someone else know about it. And if you are looking for support, you're looking for help in your situation, we'll have links as well on where you can reach out and find that support. And just remember, there's someone out there thinking about you. So you can do this. You can overcome, and your story can help others. So, Marianne, thank you for sharing your story with us.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
Hey, just jumping on here at the end. Thank you so much for checking out this episode, Living the Next Chapter, talking about Mission Hope Volume 2. You definitely want to pick up a copy of this book. Head over to ourmissionhope.com, O-U-R, missionhope.com. All the information in the show notes. Get a copy of this book. Get one for yourself, get one for your best friend, and let's encourage these authors as they write and share their stories with us. If you want to connect with me, my name is Dave. livingthenextchapter.com. livingthenextchapter.com. I would love to have you reach out through the website. Let me know what you think of this episode, what you think of the podcast. Let's encourage our fellow authors, and let's do something great. Thank you for being here on the podcast. Again, it's the second book from our great friend Shar Murphy, Mission Hope, Inspirational Stories of Faith and Triumph at ourmissionhope.com. Thanks for being here. Catch you on the next one.